Hi folks, how are you doing? The most exciting and tense game of the sixth round in the Norway chess tournament was the one played between Vesely Topalov as white and Kramnik as black. And well, it was very interesting for both chess reasons and the relationships these two players have is far from being good. They're on very bad terms. They don't shake hands and they don't respect each other. So there is always lots of tension in these games. So let us see what they did in the sixth round here in Norway. Topalov was white, he plays d4, and Kramnik almost exclusively going for the Nimzo-indian. This time the Bulgarian GM allows it. And after knight f3, black castles. And well, Topalov plays very natural moves, bishop g5. Now c5, central reaction by black, attacking d4. And here, well, the more normal looking move, maybe the most natural, would be e3. That's the most common, in fact. But Topalov plays rook c1, commonly played by other Bulgarian GMs like Chaparinov or Kirill Georgiev. So most probably this is kind of a preparation by Topalov and his team. Kramnik reacts with h6, bishop goes back, and now he takes on d4. And after knight takes d5, more or less equalizing the position, as Topalov admitted in the press conference. Good central reaction by Kramnik, just striking against the last central pawn here of white, attacking the center. So Topalov takes the knight on f6 to remove a defender of the d5 pawn. Queen takes, now he takes on d5. He didn't want probably black to take with a knight here and put more pressure on c3. But Kramnik doesn't want an isolated pawn here, as he would get one after he takes d5, for instance. So first, after c takes d5 here, he plays rook d8. As I said, he doesn't want an isolated queen pawn. Now white just cannot take on e6, of course. Now this d4 would be hanging. And e3 is played, keeps developing. Rook takes d5. Queen b3 is attacking the bishop. And here very brave and interesting decision by Vlad, creating imbalances in the position with the exchange sacrifice. Rook takes d4, very nice. He takes and knight c6, keeps developing, defends b4 and attacks d4. Bishop b5 was played. Queen f4 with not a very subtle attack on the rook. So white castles. And now Kramnik takes on d4. Now it's forking both the bishop and the queen. The bishop, of course, is protected, so white is not losing material. But black certainly has some compensation for the exchange. He has the bishop pair and active pieces here. And also, well, the pawn that black took on d4, of course. Maybe surprisingly, Kramnik gives up the bishop pair. He takes on c3. Rook takes. Now black cannot take on b5. That's not a free piece because the back rank now is very weak. Queen check, king a7, and the rook takes the c8, the piece is back. Rook takes, queen takes, and this must be favorable to white. Black king is much weaker than white one, and in general the material imbalance should be favored here, should favor white here. So Kramnik plays e5, just defending both his pieces in the center, also thinking about maybe to put the bishop on e6 or another square in this diagonal. Bishop c4 is denying the bishop e6 move exactly, and not letting white complete development as smoothly as he would like to. So Kramnik has to go with the bishop to d7, although it will go to c6, which is not a bad square either. Queen c1, Kramnik doesn't want to exchange queens because it would be total control of the c file by white. Probably black has to fight for equality here. Queen f6, he just keeps queens. Queen goes up to e3 and bishop c6. Nice looking bishop on c6. Bishop d3, rook e8, bishop e4, trying to exchange pieces. Of course, this would favor the white who has the material advantage here. Bishop b5 is attacking the rook, so rook e1, queen a6. Desperately looking for activity, counter chances. Well, rook c7 is already invading the 7th rank, and black must be really careful here. Kramnik goes after the pawn, taking on a2, arguably not the best decision here, but okay. In these games, very tense games, Kramnik is usually not playing his best chess, so he goes to take on a2. Rook takes b7, a6 to protect bishop and the last pawn on the queen side. Now b3, defends the pawn. Now b3, and the nice black possibility would to come back with the queen through this diagonal, little bit putting this queen into a passive situation. Rook d8 and bishop d5, attacking of course f7, and the position is starting to be really unpleasant for black, as he's not finding enough activity to compensate the material imbalance. Of course, rook takes d5 here, not a great option, because after rook b8 check, king h7, queen e4 check, white is taking e4. So Kramnik decides, and of course he goes for the passive defense with rook f8. White could even take on e5, and black is very passive, absolutely almost a hopeless position for him. So Kramnik goes with an active move here. Maybe objectively not the best, but knight e2 check is interesting. Of course, white cannot take it, it's protected. So you don't want to go to f1 with discovered very dangerous attacks, so king h1 and knight f4. But white has the f7 pawn still umpire, bishop takes it with check, king h8, and Topalov goes for the finishing, queen b6. The rook is intact, and white is also taking a look at this unsafe king. Queen d2 is defending the rook and attacking white 1 on e1, rook g1, king h7, and here really Kramnik had a last practical, very interesting chance, a very tricky move. Knight h3 was quite a curious move here. If g takes, now black has this bishop e2 move with the idea of a very dangerous check on f3. So the engine suggests here, in fact white has to defend from this check because that's a deadly check. So queen c6 to defend, queen d3 renews the threat of checking on f3. Bishop d5, white has just to go back to protect himself from the check, but here white in fact is giving material back. Queen could take on d5, queen takes, rook takes, and rook c1, so that after bishop f3 check, king can go to g1, but for instance e4, and still white is up exchange. But in practical terms, this could be much more pleasant for black to defend than the position Kramnik is getting after 31 king h7. Now h3 is giving white king some room. Rook d6, but queen c7, taking a look at this king, you can see who is much better here. Apart from the materially balance, this black king is very unsafe. Bishop d7, probably trying some tricks here. Go on h3, sacrifices, etc. But queen b8 is threatening checkmate in 1. And at this point, I think both players knew what the result of the game was going to be. Just, I guess it's not easy for Kramnik to resign a game against Topalov, so understandably, it's now he keeps playing, although the position seems desperate. He just plays h5 not to be checkmated, but the king chase begins. King h6, check, king up to g5, queen takes, and this is really a sad movie to watch. King f5, bishop takes h5, knight takes, queen's going to take the knight back with after the check on g4. Queen takes f2, but white has plenty of resources against this very vulnerable black king. Check on g7, e6, queen g4 check, king e7, and a very wise move. Rook d1. Of course, exchanging rooks on d1 is favoring white. Then d7 would be under heavy fire, and otherwise as well there are lots of pins here across fire against these pieces of black. So Kramnik just resigned. Of course, they didn't shake hands, and in fact Vladimir Kramnik didn't even give any interview. He just flew up from the playing venue, went directly to his car and drove away from the building. So really, the bad manners between these two players still remain. They don't respect each other, and this was showed clearly in this game when Kramnik wasn't his usual player. He wasn't his usual own, and they didn't shake hands. They were ignoring mutually during the game, and there it goes. Very tense game. Thanks for watching.